morning, Chirabo.
A lovely morning to you and of course our viewers. Thank you so much. To begin with, have you taken a cup of coffee?
I know, right?
I mean Ugandan coffee, because we must promote local consumption of coffee. Many of you don't want to take coffee, but it's what your parents used to be able to educate you. So give back to coffee, be honest. Buy coffee, use coffee, because through coffee beans, they were able to get your school fees and make you who you are today. So let's give back to that, and of course to our farmers. Well, I'm very fine.
Yes, and you look very smart. I only wish the camera could capture the shoe. Yes, the shoe. Oh, Chantal, how is your morning today? I love the brown.
Oh, thank you. The morning is very lovely. It's a bit chilly, but yeah, I'm good. And I'm hoping that the viewer out there had a very wonderful night. If you didn't, we'll try again tonight.
Yeah, no, like I told you the other day, the secret to having a beautiful night is waking up very early. Because for us here, I think most of us wake up like at 4 in the morning. And because of that, we get tired very fast. So by 9, we are hitting the, oh, at least me. I'm trying to get some sleep. I don't know about the culprits here. Because Chirabo,
some of us starting that day at 8. Some of us, our energy is at like 3 p.m. by midday.
I know, that's true. But you know what's funny? I was having a conversation with Chirabo, and I asked him, what time do you go to bed? And he told me, you can't believe this, he told me for him to wake up early, he has to sleep late. Make that make sense?
Yeah, how do you know how it makes sense?
How does it make sense?
If I go to bed early, I wake up early. So I may wake up at around 2. I lose sleep.
Oh, that's early.
So from 2 to about 4 a.m.
And if you dare put your head down,
then I'll not wake up. So I must go to bed late
so that you can wake up.
I can wake up within that time. And then second, international media, usually at midnight, have so much news that I don't want to miss. You know, you get to know what's happening around the globe, and the world is a bit quiet. If I want to do some reading or what to discuss, I find from 10 to midnight very comfortable for me.
Okay,
yes.
okay.
The world is silent.
Remember you talked about consuming coffee, and there's usually people who have a concern with the caffeine that is in the coffee and all. And I'm just here to say, if you do not know, there is what we call decaffeinated coffee.
Okay,
now, decaffeinated coffee has less caffeine. Not that it doesn't have, but it has very little caffeine. That means if you are worried about the major effects of caffeine, it's toned down. So please consume Ugandan coffee. Thank you.
Yes, consume Ugandan coffee. And speaking of things Ugandan, I believe all of us here have our national IDs.
Right.
Now, I found an interesting story yesterday where the Internal Affairs Ministry says that they have found 10,000 genuine national IDs, but in the hands of foreigners. And these foreigners are trying to use our national IDs to get Ugandan passports. As we speak, 2 Nigerians were arrested and a Congolese. They had national IDs and they were trying to get Ugandan passports. Isn't that crazy?
Very crazy, because the very, I'm wondering, how did they bypass the system?
Genuine, meanwhile.
Exactly. If it was NASA, we would say, okay, yes, it's NASA. Especially when you mention Nigeria, you could relate to NASA. But now, it's genuine. The question would be, how did they attain them? Who is to be blamed for this? It's a matter of actually concern, because you're questioning a number of things, security inclusive.
Exactly.
If that person goes with a national ID in a different country and commits a crime, that's a Ugandan national. That is very bad for even international relations.
That's true.
The question is, who is to take the fall?
Well, during registration of national IDs, that is why Ministry of Internal Affairs, through the Immigration Department, when you go to get your passport, it's not automatic because you have a national ID. They again call you for an interview to find out, are you really a Ugandan? Because there were gaps in the beginning when we were getting national IDs. And maybe some of you were a bit younger.
Oh.
But by that time, the government wanted people to have national IDs. So these people would even go and sit under a tree shade somewhere, wait for people, and nobody comes. So whoever would come, they'll register that person. They wouldn't ask so much and get a national ID. Then second, they relied so much on local authorities. So if someone simply came and the person, an elder there, chairman said, I know him. They would give that person. I remember some of us got national IDs when we were below.
Really?
The age, yes.
Below the age? Because I remember the first rollout of national IDs was in 2014.
13 actually. 13, yeah, it was 2013.
Yes.
So
13, 14.
you would go and this one say, you know, but they would find us.
Chirawo, now I have questions regarding your
age. Them when they were
I
below
have
age.
Questions, but
When they were
anyway.
below age. And now we are having, soon you're having mass enrollment,
Yes,
recruiting more people.
Because some of us are expiring next year.
System, the LC system has challenges. Contrary to what we have under immigration, there you have technical people who will ask a number of questions. That's why recently we had the Banyarwanda tribe complaining that we're in the constitution but we are left behind and all that. Because for them they want to confirm, are you really a Ugandan? These people wanted, which wasn't their fault anyway, because this was a new thing and they wanted to have more people get onto it. So that's why we have a bit of loopholes, because it is sometimes easy for crafty people to get these national IDs.
Anyway, speaking of loopholes, there is a pun there related to potholes, but we're not talking about potholes. Earlier, you were telling me about a few things that didn't make you happy regarding traffic police.
Well, yesterday I was shocked to see that in the bid to end or reduce accidents, which you all accept you are doing very bad, even just the week from 30th to about 8th, to about yesterday, we lost a number of people in accidents.
Yes.
But now, traffic police issued a directive that people will no longer be issued with express penalty tickets, EPS. Rather, they will be taken to court. Now, in 1998, government of Uganda, Parliament, they came up with a Traffic and Road Safety Act, and section 165 clearly brings out the issuing of express penalties to minor defaulters. The issue here was to decongest courts. If someone is over speeding, you get an express penalty ticket. You're given some time. If you fail to attract, there's a surcharge, but you go and you pay that ticket. Now, it was meant that that ticket, the fear that you're going to cough maybe 200,000 because of overspeeding would deter you.
Keep you in check.
Keep you in check. Recently, there was an amendment to see that the fine ranges from 200 to 3 million. Now, traffic police, and I don't know where legally this comes from. Yesterday came up and a directive through the spokesperson, the traffic came out and said they will no longer issue express penalties tickets. So if you're found over speeding, reckless driving, they'll just take you to court.
But maybe
Now,
they're coming from somewhere.
we already have case backlog.
I understand
And
that.
the reason why we had this express penalty is because courts could not be able to preside over these cases. And at the end of the day, you would have a person go to police, then given bail, then wait there when they are coming to court.
So what you're saying is that in trying to deter people from being indisciplined on the road, we are creating another problem in the judiciary. But looking at the roads alone before we go into the judiciary, maybe there is an issue here. There is an underlying problem. If express tickets are not working, then what is the next best option? Impound the cars, arrest the people, and maybe take them to court. I don't know. I know in the grand scheme of things, the judiciary is affected, but at the same time, we have realized that express tickets are not working. People are not paying.
And you know what will happen? At the end of the day, even court will still tell that person, maybe go and pay
Because
that fine.
A few months ago, URA was trying to collect, saying that police had not reached its end of the bargain in collecting these express tickets. So there is a problem everywhere.
And we saw an operation that was rolled out on certain roads like Chira Road. You would actually be stopped, your plate checked, to find out if you have any tickets that you haven't honored. Now, that I think would be something we need to like proceed with. However, I think when you look at it from the angle of how many people can afford the 200,000, and the conversation between that traffic officer who is giving you the ticket and you who is in the car could end in you not getting the ticket. Are you aware? At one point, police was regarded as the most corrupt body.
You've just mentioned
not
what
at
I
one
wanted
point.
to say,
Every
Chantal,
time there is a report on corruption, traffic police is always at the top.
The harder you make traffic regulations in this country, the more you create a fertile ground for corruption.
So what do we do?
This is what happens. Instead of saying that impound the vehicle, take these people to court, have case backlog, why don't you say that if you're stopped, you park your car there, go pay this express penalty ticket, then come and take your car. Because now what happens is, when you're stopped and issued with a ticket, you're at liberty. There is a period, I think about 17 days, that someone has to pay the ticket. You're not mandated to pay there and then. So a person, if I have my 2 weeks to pay a ticket, you get it. But if they say you park your car or you drive it to the next police station, when you bring the ticket, like they do with border riders, when you pay the express penalty ticket, then you drive your car. That is enough. But when you tell someone that you're going to court, the inconveniences, this is what's going to happen. A traffic officer will stop you. Makolo, now you see you're over speeding, and I'm not issuing you with a ticket. We are going to court, and you see the problem. Now you're inconvenienced. What do? You go to court or what?
And that's the type of conversation.
Yes, and that's how, because I've been stopped. And then someone will say, Fandi,
we get
more corruption.
We get that conversations be happening on our roads, but seriously, Ugandans, I always say that the buck stops on you. If you need to stop corruption in this country, it starts and stops with you. So you need to be careful if we want, because when police talks about these express tickets and impounding cars because of indiscipline on the road, it all comes from the fact that the indiscipline on the road is causing a loss of life on all our roads in the city, on highways, and we need to find a way to curb this. So we need to all be our own keepers as far as being on the road is concerned. We need to cater to ourselves and of course the other road users, and also stop being indisciplined so that we don't be inconvenienced by the police on the road, that is traffic police. But that being said, let's have a look at some of the stories that have made news and those that we have gathered for you this morning.
And we'll begin with the Coffee Summit. Now, the president of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, Her Excellency Sheila Wakzendo, has arrived in Uganda ahead of the second G20 Africa Coffee Summit. The Ethiopian leader was welcomed by the Minister for Presidency, Honorable Babirye Mile Babalanda, at Entebbe International Airport. The other senior African government officials that arrived in the country are the Vice President of Tanzania and the Prime Cabinet Secretary of Kenya. Both officials were welcomed by Honorable John Mulimba, the State Minister for Foreign Affairs in charge of regional cooperation. The other heads of state expected to arrive in the country are His Excellency Theodore Obodinga Ningume Mamba Sogo, the President of Equatorial Guinea, and other senior ministers from 22 coffee-producing nations.
And President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni has met and held discussions with the former president of Kenya, His Excellency Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, regarding the status of the Democratic Republic of Congo peace process. The meeting, which was held at State House Entebbe, was also attended by the Peace Process Secretariat. Mr. Kenyatta, who arrived in Uganda last Saturday, is the facilitator of the DRC peace process. During the meeting, President Museveni received a report of the status of the peace process. The process focuses on ending the inter-DRC hostilities.
And moving to the tax body, Uganda Revenue Authority will not allow any consolidators who bring goods into the country without detailed list of actual owners of these goods. The new directive issued by the Revenue Board seeks to protect naive importers who are being exploited by fraudulent businessmen. This follows a gap that had been identified by the taxman, that there are people who have been importing goods under their names and under their tins when they are actually not the owners of those goods. The gap that URA terms as fraudulent is accused of under-declarations or misdeclarations of goods, and when they are detected, they abandon the goods to deter the authorities from getting them. It was jointly agreed that URA issues a 2-day window of Monday 7th and Tuesday 8th August this very year to those whose goods are being held over a long period of time to approach the taxman and redeem their goods.
And speaking matters, FDC, the former president for Forum for Democratic Change Party, retired Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye, has appealed to the National Council of the party to create a transitional leadership that will organize all the processes to a new leadership in the FDC party. Speaking at the media briefing at Katonga Road, Besigye trashed the findings in the report of the Elders Council on alleged funds that came from government to facilitate the FDC presidential candidate in the 2021 elections. According to Besigye, once a transitional leadership is put in place, a forensic audit into the misuse of party resources by the incumbent leadership at the party headquarters should be conducted.
And away from that, we cross over to the international scene. The Security Service of Ukraine, that is SBU, says it has detained a woman accused of helping Russia plot an attack on President Zelensky during a visit to a flood-hit region. The SBU yesterday said the arrested woman was gathering intelligence to try to find out Zelensky's itinerary ahead of the trip to Mykolaiv in southern Ukraine. It published a blurred image of the woman being detained by masked officers in a kitchen, as well as some phone messages and handwritten notes about military activity. Ukraine regularly accuses residents who support Russia of passing on information to help Russia's military. Zelensky said on the Telegram messaging service on Monday, which was yesterday, that the head of the SBU had updated him about the fight against traitors. Moving on, Russia's space agency Roscosmos said it had scheduled the launch of the Luna 25 lander for the early hours of Friday. With the lunar mission, Russia's first since 1976, Moscow is seeking to restart and build on the Soviet Union's pioneering space program. The launch is the first mission of Moscow's new lunar project and comes as President Putin looks to strengthen cooperation in space with China after ties with the West broke down following the start of Moscow's offensive in Ukraine last year. Engineers have assembled a rocket at the Vostony in the Russian Far East of the launch for the lander, and that is what the report says. And moving on to Rwanda, UN appeals judges have ordered the war crimes trial for 90-year-old Rwandan genocide suspect, that is Felicien Kabuga, indefinitely suspended because he has dementia, rejecting plans for an alternative slimmed-down procedure. The decision taken yesterday likely means that Kabuga's trial, which started last year in Hague, will not be completed. In June, judges at the International Residual Mechanism for Criminal Tribunals ruled Kabuga unfit to stand trial, but said alternative procedures should take place. Prosecutors had urged halting the trial would be unfair to the victims and said Kabuga's own actions put him in the position of facing trial at an advanced age with a diminished capacity. And speaking matters weather, Brazilian officials have vowed to seek an ambitious roadmap to stop deforestation at the 2-day meeting of the Amazon Cooperation Treaty Organization in Belém at the mouth of Amazon River. It is the first summit in 14 years for the 8-nation group set up in 1995 by the South American countries to share the Amazon basin: Bolivia, Brazil, Colombia, Ecuador, Guyana, Peru, Suriname and Venezuela. Home to an estimated 10% of the Earth's biodiversity, 50 million people and hundreds of billions of trees, the vast Amazon is a vital carbon sink, reducing global warming. But scientists warn deforestation is pushing it dangerously close to a tipping point, beyond which trees would die off and release carbon rather than absorb it, with catastrophic consequences for the climate.
And now we will have a look at some of the stories that have made it to the headlines of our dailies, starting with Daily Monitor.
Well, with the Daily Monitor, we have Besigye whips for FDC. And still in the Daily Monitor, she cranes the rise of Africa's best. The Daily Monitor also brings you government to destroy 10,000 national identity cards held by foreigners. Still, experts pour cold water on the new government school policy, and there are tenders for you: URA, UNDP, Ministry of Finance, NMG Uganda, World Food Program, USAID, and many others for you there. But also the rainbow, it was sure and might of talent at Spain Junior. And still, the Lizard has something to say here regarding Kizza Besigye whipping, that has is whipping for the party that is one of the founders. Now, the Lizard says someone is smiling.
Today's copy of the New Vision. That is very sad. The Lizard is actually making fun of someone. Very sad, but let's move on. In today's copy of the New Vision, there is a coup in FDC, that is according to Dr. Kizza Besigye, and away from that, legislator angry after children drop out of university, MP jails sons over drugs. Such a good parent. And still away from that, refugee population, rising numbers stretch Nachi Valley. And if you've been to those camps, you know what we are talking about. That and so much more in today's copy of the New Vision.
You know, when you say that it is a good story when the MP jails sons over drugs, as a parent, I have reservations on that, because why were they doing drugs in the first place? But you're watching Good Morning Uganda. We are going to leave you with the inspiration song of the day, and we will be right back in our newsreel. And today we will be tackling the move by countries in the Great Lakes to harmonize laws regarding child marriages. What's more about that, you will know when we come back.
Good morning to you, and of course our viewers. Thank you so much. To begin with, have you taken a cup of coffee?
I know, right?
I mean Ugandan coffee, because we must promote local consumption of coffee. Many of you don't want to take coffee, but it's what your parents used to be able to educate you. So give back to coffee, be honest. Buy coffee, use coffee, because through coffee beans, they were able to get your school fees and make you who you are today. So let's give back to that, and of course to our farmers. Well, I'm very fine.
Yes, and you look very smart. I only wish the camera could capture the shoe. Yes, the shoe. Oh, Chantal, how is your morning today? I love the brown.
Oh, thank you. The morning is very lovely. It's a bit chilly, but yeah, I'm good. And I'm hoping that the viewer out there had a very wonderful night. If you didn't, we'll try again tonight.
Yeah, no, like I told you the other day, the secret to having a beautiful night is waking up very early. Because for us here, I think most of us wake up like at 4 in the morning. And because of that, we get tired very fast. So by 9, we are hitting the, oh, at least me. I'm trying to get some sleep. I don't know about the culprits here, because Chirabo.
Some of us starting that day at 8. Some of us, our energy is at like 3 p.m. by midday.
I know, that's true. But you know what's funny? I was having a conversation with Chirabo, and I asked him, what time do you go to bed? And he told me, you can't believe this, he told me for him to wake up early, he has to sleep late. Make that make sense.
Yeah, how do you know how it makes sense?
How does it make sense?
If I go to bed early, I wake up early. So I may wake up around 2. I
Okay.
lose sleep.
Oh, that's early.
So from 2 about 4 a.m. It's a
And
long
if you
period.
dare put your head down, I can
Then I'll
assure
not
you.
wake up. So I must go to bed late
So that you can wake up.
I can wake up within the time. And then second, international media, usually at midnight, have so much news that I don't want to miss. You know, you get to know what's happening around the globe, and the world is a bit quiet. If I want to do some reading or what to discuss, I find from 10 to midnight very comfortable for me. Lovely morning to you, and of course our viewers. Thank you so much. To begin with, have you taken a cup of coffee?
I know, right?
I mean Ugandan coffee, because we must promote local consumption of coffee. Many of you don't want to take coffee, but it's what your parents used to be able to educate you. So give back to coffee, be honest. Buy coffee, use coffee, because through coffee beans, they were able to get your school fees and make you who you are today. So let's give back to that, and of course to our farmers. Well, I'm very fine.
Yes, and you look very smart. I only wish the camera could capture the shoe. Yes, the shoe. Chantal, how is your morning today? I love the brown.
Oh, thank you. The morning is very lovely. It's a bit chilly, but yeah, I'm good. And I'm hoping that the viewer out there had a very wonderful night. If you didn't, we'll try again tonight.
Yeah, no, we, like I told you the other day, the secret to having a beautiful night is waking up very early. Because for us here, I think most of us wake up like at 4 in the morning. And because of that, we get tired very fast. So by 9, we are hitting the, oh, at least me. I'm trying to get some sleep. I don't know about the culprits here, because Chiravo,
Some people are starting their day at 8. Some of us, our energy is at like 3 p.m. by midday.
I know, that's true. But you know what's funny? I was having a conversation with Chiravo, and I asked him, what time do you go to bed? And he told me, you can't believe this, he told me for him to wake up early, he has to sleep late. Make that make sense.
Yeah, how do you know how it makes sense?
How does it make sense?
If I go to bed early, I wake up early. So I may wake up around 2. I lose sleep.
Oh, that's early.
So from 2 about 4 a.m. It's a long
if you
period.
dare put your head down, I can
Then I'll
assure
not
you.
wake up. So I must go to bed late
So that you can wake up.
I can wake up within the time. And then second, international media, usually at midnight.
Pay. Dial star 165 star 3 hash or use the MTN Momo app. You don't need cash. MTN Momo Pay is safe and free.
So this is my general perception. One, that this project entered in strategic areas of government, but that it has created a base for the now last mile strategy, which is the parish development model. And therefore this base that it has left will help us actually, and I'm sure we'll get better results in a Chole area and Ajumani when we are implementing the parish development model.
This is the University of Africa. On the streets, you get your real education. Here, everybody has a degree of something. But the most important qualification is imagination. His reason is to be the GOAT. The reason to imagine is to take the beat and make it lit. So no matter what your situation, just use your imagination.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
You are still watching Good Morning Uganda. My name is Olive Monica Najuma, and if you have just joined us, I am with Chirabo Robert Nyonyintono and Chantal Olive Akandinda. Now this morning would like to look into a conversation that may interest many person, whether you're a parent, whether you are a guardian. The Great Lakes legislators have called for the harmonization of laws so that we can be able to combat early child marriages. Now, if you didn't know, this is a problem that is festering in many Great Lakes region countries, that is in Uganda, in Kenya, and all the other 10 Great Lakes countries. Now, when we look at the statistics of child marriages, a case in point, Uganda, 34% of girls in Uganda are married before the age of 18, and 7% are married before the age of 15. This in comparison to 6% of boys that are married before the age of 18. And if we look at our neighboring country, Kenya, 23% of girls are married before the age of 18, and 4% are married before the age of 15. And of course, this in comparison to 3% of boys that are married before the age of 18. Now, the other issue is that most of these marriages are not really registered marriages. Most of these marriages are carried out by the families, maybe through customary events like introduction ceremonies, but they're not registered because legally they're not allowed because these children are minors. But they keep happening, and the problem is bloated because, again, in Uganda, 5 million child brides are registered, and of these 1.3 million got married before the age of 15. That is quite a huge number. So I see where the legislators from the Great Lakes region are coming from to urge so that we have laws harmonized in all over the region so that girls cannot be married off at a young stage. But before we go into the harmonization of these laws, let's look at some of the driving factors. And I will run to my colleagues here, Chirabo and Chantal. What are the driving factors that are leading to child marriages?
Well, first I want to thank you for those statistics, because that brings or speaks out why this is an issue of national concern, and indeed the Great Lakes region. Now, when you see a body that brings together 12 nations gathering, and top on the agenda is early child marriage, that explains the gravity of this problem. The 12 countries, their legislators, their members of parliament have gathered, and top on agenda is child marriage.
That already shows
the
a
gravity.
Big problem. Yes.
Now, when you have the 34% being married off, this is a very big number. Now, we must ask ourselves, why are these people against child marriage? Because in many, why this is thriving, there are people who don't see the danger in this.
Yes.
So, having laws without sufficient sensitization is as good as nothing. Exactly. I use a very simple example. That look at a border rider who will have a helmet, just put it, when they see a traffic officer, they put it on. Then away from that, where actually they are going to die, they don't have it, they crash the helmet to the other side, and the Ugandan is gone. Now, we need to understand, why are these people fighting early child marriage?
But to fight that, don't we have to go back to the
Then
start?
we look at the factors.
Yes.
Because, you see, you can't fight something when the people don't see reason in why you're fighting it. So one, when a child is married off early, her body has not matured enough. Because in Africa, marriage focuses on giving birth.
Reproduction.
Yes,
Reproduction. If you're married some years and there is nothing, in Africa and mostly in these primitive societies where these acts are still going on, immediately you marry, the next is they want to see the
Are you looking for raw mangoes?
raw mangoes, are you vomiting and all that. So this child's body is still so young for birth. 2, psychologically, the brain has not yet matured for the task ahead of her. But most of all, it's the body, because these, as we talk about women dying while giving birth, most of these young girls have complications and they die during birth or develop problems, the likes of fistula and all that after, because the body is still very, very young. But also, above all, they have not lived to their full potential.
That's true.
They're supposed to be in school, then get married after they're done with school. So what is happening? Their future is ruined. She's coming into a marriage, and fun enough, there's a trickle-down factor. A child of an early marriage, a product of an early marriage, may suffer the same. The mother is not empowered. She can't pull shots, you know. So these are the dangers. Her future is ruined, but also the body. There are high health risks attached to early marriage. Now, after people have known that if you're wedding in a year, if you're having these marriages and 100 girls are wedded off, statistics also reveal that out of the 100, at least you're going to have 70% of those have labor complications, including death among them. So if we tell these committees that that daughter you're giving out, there are chances in the next 1 year for you not to see her again. Because we look at issues of culture. There are some cultures where for them they use eyes to detect. She's mature enough.
Actually, in many cultures, especially here in Africa, when a girl transitions into, I wouldn't even call it womanhood, because some girls get breasts as early as 10 years old. But in most cultures, the minute a girl shows that her reproductive system is now maturing, or it is showing signs that if she, for instance, gets her menstruations, and if she gets breasts, that is an indicator that she is ripe for marriage.
So culture is one of the areas. That is why I said that unless you sensitize these people to know that culture may say so, or the norm and the way we've been doing things has been marrying off girls when they begin their menstrual cycle, some height and breasts, and we get cows, but we are killing our girls. Because these girls are going for marriage, for reproduction, and they are going to die while giving birth. These men may sympathize. The mothers that say I also got married when I was 15 years. You know, I was married 15 years, so you can go. Will know that I was able to survive. But how many of my generation at that time didn't make it? We opened their eyes. Said, sensitizing them, this culture will end. 2, and I had to say, is religion. We have a number of faiths that believe that once menstrual cycle is ready, this person is ready for marriage. And within them, it is okay. The age of marrying off a girl, 16, she should go. Then we have poverty. There was a time in Karamoja where young girls were sold in markets. That the family would go get bride price, then the father tells the girl, escort me to the market.
So basically, you started by showing us some of the effects, because when you say when a girl is married off young, her body is not ready to have a child, she might die, and all of these other effects of child marriages. But now I want us to go deeper into the factors that make families drive their children or send their young girls into marriage. And I would like to pose that question to Chantal.
When you look at the 3 major reasons, not that they're not, there are 3 major, and there is others. Some of them have been mentioned by Chirabo. But the first you would think about is, I would choose to call them harmful social norms, because actually they are harmful. When you get to study what they do, you realize it's actually harmful. The other one would be poverty coping. It's a poverty coping mechanism. this person, you remember there is a song, I may not mention the artist, but he said that this old man told the young girl, "Byosomo kufuna byendese." You get?
Yes, yes.
So it's a poverty coping mechanism. Have you been in a position where, Olive, where you tell a gentleman the bills will not pay themselves, and he says, "I will pay the bills"? You get? Imagine that happens to someone who is younger,
who is 12 and she just needs sanitary pads.
Thank you. So now you realize that those are just norms that you have. Those are coping mechanisms that are in place, yet they're actually dangerous to these girls and society. The other one would be a protection mechanism. For some, these child marriages are conducted as a way of protecting them. Imagine a war-stricken country. So for humanitarian, because of what is happening in that country or that region, this girl is safer in the hands of a man who has married her because he's going to protect her. Ideally, a man, we all know, is supposed to have embodied protection for the family. So to them, marrying off this girl is a way of protecting her from any other harm.
But also marrying off this girl is also a family's way of enriching itself, because when a man comes and takes a girl, I saw some stories about girls that were being married off in Iran at as early as 9 years old. And for most of these families, it was not because they wanted the girl to be protected, but the families needed money. And coming back home here, many families are marrying off young girls just because they need to get the money that comes from bride price.
From the bride price, yes. Think about things like the status that comes with your child is married. Do you know that some will even marry off their daughters because they don't want to experience the embarrassment of this girl conceiving out of wedlock? The moment you start misbehaving in high school, Form 2, Form 3, let's marry you off or you get? As a way of, we can't stand the shame as a family if you got yourself pregnant. It's another reason that the parent will state for getting their child married at 17, 16. Okay. And when you look at such a mentality, at the end of the day, you realize we have a very big job to do for us who know that you shouldn't marry off your child. That even 23 right now is actually young for that person to be married. It doesn't qualify for child marriage or defilement or whatever, but in my own opinion, even 23 right now is a bit young for someone to get married.
23, at least legally, it is 18.
Legally, it is acceptable, but I mean, when you're to check other factors that could be involved, you would rather wait for this child to get a little older.
Well, if you would like to join this conversation, please join us by texting us on WhatsApp. The number is on your screen, and of course, through Twitter, the hashtag is UBCGMU. Share your comments. We need to know what you think we should do to combat child marriages in Uganda and, of course, the Great Lakes region. Now, coming back to you, Robert, I would like to know, and I believe that the viewers would like to know, what available laws we have in Uganda to combat and even regulate marriages as far as children are concerned.
Well, I must say, Uganda, we are one of the countries with the best law. Okay. When it comes to combating child marriage, because under our laws we have it is a capital offense first and foremost, triable by the High Court, because child marriage is taken under defilement, not rape, but under defilement. Yes. So, if by any chance you're detected, you're arrested and paraded before a judge, and you're convicted, it is punishable by death.
That is defilement or aggravated defilement? Even
aggravated. Of course, now there's a Susan Chigula case. That's some of these cases that were tantamounting to death. Though we still have the death penalty. Now, if someone has good lawyers, after some time, it may go to life imprisonment. Yes. But we have the best laws in our books. If you are ever, that's why we've had a number of clips where police is tipped over child marriage happening somewhere, and the people scatter because they know that once you're arrested, our laws are not lenient in any way. And I must say, there have even been a yardstick. I was watching a number of clips from this summit that happened. Yes, I was saying, but Uganda has very good laws that we can also landmark on. Now, why these people are calling for harmonization is because certain things happen, you know, criminals will detect where the law is weaker or where it is less enforced. Now, we have countries where we are just separated by borders. It's a borderline.
Porous borders, for that
Even
matter.
leave alone porous borders, because porous borders are those that you can sneak out and maybe you don't have official.
No, we have official borders,
yes,
but
and then
we know
have
that
those,
most people cross into different
countries.
countries.
But even where they have gone through the normal border points,
okay,
I'll simply get a girl of 18 years, no, a girl of 13 or 16 years. Then if you're my sisters, you cross in advance. You know, you go the other end. The family of the girl, they cross. Normally, they go through the border. They go the other side. Now, we conduct our marriage. We come, we give the bride price this way. Then we come back, the function is done. Now, the Great Lakes region are saying, let's have similar laws. Let's harmonize. Where for you, you're saying that is 7 years imprisonment. If mine amounts to death or life imprisonment, let it be universal. They're not going to sneak with a girl to Ethiopia, maybe if you border Kenya, you know, where you know that because there's some a bit of Islam and all that, the law is very lenient. So a person from a country that borders Ethiopia finds it may be easy to do that. You're not going to sneak to maybe another country or Tanzania if it is. So if within the region of these 12 states we have similar laws, similar punishments, that what is harsh in Uganda, the punishment is the same in another member state of the Great Lakes region. Because this is what has been happening. Let me give you a very simple example, and I think this is fresh in the minds of many people. Female genital mutilation in our country is strictly illegal.
but it's still happening.
And you know how it's happening? These people cross to Kenya. Research has shown many young girls no longer do it on Ugandan soil.
Because previously it was mainly in districts like Kapchora.
Yes.
So, and you know it's very near the border. Kapchora, very near the border. So they cross over. They do this, then the girls are brought back to Uganda. So if you have a harmonized law and enforcement, they will not be able to do it in Kenya because the laws will bite them. Look at the issue we are battling with, another quick one, just giving you an example why we need to harmonize the laws. Government of Uganda has had challenges with the disarmament process in Karamoja. They remove guns from our brothers in Karamoja, and government says it's going to protect them. Our brothers in Kenya did it, darling. You know, it took His Excellency to say now when you cross in Uganda with a gun, you face the court martial. Because us, we are very much with disarmament. But the law is not the same to Kenya. In Uganda, when government moved to look for guns, Karamajongs will tell you what the story was. They are brothers. That is why after, you see we have some peace. Then after, these guys you bring, I give you an AK-47, you give me 7 cows.
Cows, yes. Of which they're very rich in cows.
Yes, so it continues. 5 years of peace, then again a new clique comes in. So that is why they're saying, let's harmonize. But for me, I think there's also another factor, very important in some of these things. We need male involvement.
That's very true. We need to change mindsets. And most of the programs that are geared towards ending child marriages are normally directed to the girls. Girls, you should stay in school. This is what you need for you to be okay. But at the same time, the girls are not marrying themselves. So we need to have conversations with the men that are marrying these girls. Because,
for instance, I love giving examples that are practical. I was privileged that one time I spent some good time in Sebei region under charity. Now, I discovered there when I was speaking to some of my friends, I told them, but you people, this issue of female genital mutilation, why is this still living in modern day? He told me, brother, who wouldn't want to marry a woman who has undergone that? I asked why. He said, you're safe. You're safe. I asked, you're safe how? Because that woman will not have the desire to sleep around with other men except you. Wow. Because what brings those feelings has been removed.
That's why they do it.
has been. So these girls do it because they are telling them, if you've not done it, you not get a husband.
Husband, yes. Of which they are trained,
of which they're
groomed to become wives.
Now, because the men have not been sensitized, we have NGOs, women, or everyone, women, they are ignorant. They have not been told the danger that this woman is going to have when giving birth. They have not been also sensitized that, why would you feel comfortable? Because I'm told, and I stand to be corrected, that for that community they are warriors, and they used to go and spend a long time when they're away from their homes. Now they would return when the few weaklings that remained and never went to war have done a good job in the women around. You know, their wives are pregnant, they have been. So they said, what do we do? If we just pluck this, then they will not have feelings to mess around. That it was for safety of men. But so, remember.
Chirabo, just sorry to cut you short. Why didn't they cut off the things of the men who are impregnating these women? Because we all know that it's not a woman that goes to the man, but that would be a discussion for another time.
So why am I saying so? Now, the war ended, that life full of whatever, and was very unfortunate. And the men should be told that in modern day era, these are the disadvantages. Imagine being with someone who has no feelings, and for you rejoice. So this is my property.
So we need to go back to the foundation.
And because educate the men.
Yes, because you see...
A quick one, just a quick one. Today, you find men whose mindset is this young girl. You know, she has not had a number of encounters.
She's
fresh. Kazamu, Musai. You find all talks of mentality in the men. And they will choose to go and marry these young girls. You get it?
So when we seek to change mindsets,
yes,
what you're saying is that
the
we
campaign
need to start
should target
with
the men.
Chantal, you had something to say.
Yes, you know the reason as to why I asked Robert the question of why did they cut off the men's parts is because you realize that this thing has been wrong from the word go. When a mistake is made in society, the very first person to take the blame is the woman. Mm-hmm. When a girl conceives, Form 3, Form 2, or even primary, those who can, the thing is, the punishment goes to the girl. She drops out of school, she's sent off to get married, and then the boy most likely actually goes to school and pulls through, and life is better for him. So we have to go back to the basics of, if we're talking about mindset change and changing our norms, we are going to have to do an overhaul of some of these things. I don't see a point where they would cut off a man's genitals after he has impregnated this girl.
Or where a family will force its boys to drop out of school because they made a girl pregnant. And speaking about girls getting pregnant, it is said that at least 644,955 teenage girls got pregnant in the year 2021 in Uganda alone.
During COVID, it was really terrible.
It was really terrible. Yes. And of these, Wakiso had 10,439 pregnancies, Kampala 8,460, Kasese 7,317, Kamuli 6,535. And now these numbers, these were pregnancies, of course, because of COVID-19. But we know that this used to happen even before COVID. Yes. It's just that during COVID-19, the numbers became 5 times high. Actually, at some point, we had more numbers of teenage pregnancies compared to the cumulative cases of COVID-19 in the country. That was sad. But coming back, what does this child pregnancies, child marriage, how does it affect the country in the grand scheme of things?
Look at development. Imagine you are marrying off, let's not even just leave it at only the girls. Imagine this 17-year-old boy is being told to marry. a fellow teenager, by the way.
Yes.
He's going to marry probably an age mate or at 15 or 16. Now, this person could have had a contribution, could have been able to finish school and have a contribution to the growth of the country. And also, let's also understand the fact that development is not just even about going to school. It's about the mindset. You have broken someone's cycle and their thinking is going to be totally different. You've instilled in them a certain culture or a norm that is not going to go away. That's what they're going to grow up knowing. So all their focus is going to be on, I'm going to take care of this family. That's why you're going to find someone working just to put food on the table. They're not thinking about, if I set up myself professionally, for example, I would actually contribute to the growth of this country. I would employ this number of people. They don't think like that. So you realize, according to the World Bank, this was published, there was a plan that was put, a 5-year plan that was put from 2019 upwards. And this plan was meant to highlight and also have solutions when it comes to child marriages. And the World Bank itself was concerned that these child marriages were deterring development, especially in the third world countries or the developing countries. So you realize that it goes past just affecting the family and individuals and goes up to the level of development. And if we do not see that, then we are in trouble as the countries that are still suffering from some of these vices.
And adding to something that Robert said earlier, he said that a product of an early marriage, when they have children, the children will most likely also end up as a product of early marriage.
It's a cycle.
Yes, I would like to add on to that by saying that in most cases, we have to go back and look at the family. The NATO family plays a pivotal role in whether or not a girl is married off early or not. If there is no family support, if these children are coming from single parent homes, unfortunately, the chances of an early marriage are very high. And of course, poverty, because we have said that most families marry off their young girls because they need to get money, they need to enrich the family. So we need, I think in fighting early marriages, we need to go back to the problem. What is the root cause? Is it poverty? How do we help girls to live, families to get out of poverty? And of course, one of the other key factors that can help to combat early marriages is to keep girls longer in schools. But before we get into that, I would like to read some of the messages from you on social media. And I'll start with she didn't leave a name, but said, I am a health worker. I see adolescent pregnancy is a big problem nowadays. Just saw a girl 17 years old attend antenatal clinic with the third pregnancy.
Jesus.
17. Third pregnancy. That is not healthy at all. Yesterday I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and they were telling me that ladies back in the day used to have 10, 15 children or 11 football teams. And I said, yes, they were having all these children, but no one ever looked into the mortality rates at the time. There was high rates of maternal mortality rates and of course infant mortality rates, because honestly, a normal person should not be having 15 children. But now if this girl starts having children at 17 and she's having her third, actually she's not starting, she's having her third child at 17.
Imagine by the time she gets to 25.
She might have 9 children. But anyway, I have other messages, and this one says, good morning, I'm Ali from Makere. Nowadays, money has power. Once you have money, age is not a matter. This day, young girls date old men, and you'll not know if this is their daddy or boyfriends. And the next message says the only way we could do away with that problem is to become security personnel or law enforcers in our communities and knowing children's rights to fight for them. Segawa Charles watching from Mitiana district. Thank you so much, Segawa. And someone says, good morning, Chirabo. The so-called SMC is also not good in old men too. It has several side effects. Could you be knowing what SMC stands for? Anyway, thank you so much for your contributions, and you can still send us messages on the number that is on your screen, and of course you can also send us your tweets. The hashtag is UBCGMU. Now coming back to you, my colleagues, someone said something about money. And of course, we said poverty is a key factor in early marriages. So when we go back to mindset change, and we say that we need to talk to men, how do we marry that with the fact that sometimes girls are forced into these situations because they can't help themselves?
Well, first, we must understand that women are not a property. African setting, I'm proud to be an African. I also dissociate myself with ancient alien culture. In Africa, there's a way we view women, and please don't get offended because these are facts I'm talking about, that women are seen as property. That is why there is a word I don't like and I hate. And by the grace of God, should anyone come to my house when my beautiful daughter has matured and ready for marriage and say I'm bringing bride price, that will bring the spear I have to come out.
What would you like them to call it?
Token of appreciation.
Still bride price.
A
Play
token.
on words.
No, when it's a token of appreciation, if a waiter serves me and I'm giving her a tip, it is something small, you know, to attach value that thank you so much. You raised such a beautiful daughter that I'm taking as a wife. But the moment we attach price,
The word
bride price, I'm buying you. That's why when you asked why were they cutting off whatever the men, these men had spent cows, given away cows.
Would you rather they call it dowry?
To buy these women. And today, very unfortunate, there's a way we've commercialized. You see today's intros. You bring a tank, a dining set, this swing, rocking chair, then
Who
money,
started it even?
then all that. And in some cultures like Uganda, that's not how things were being done.
Yes.
Then the money is these people are receiving. So we must, it is a bitter truth, but we must address some of these things as outdated. Why these young girls are being given away? Because the family knows we are going to get 40 cows. If there are 4 boys, 10, you know, that is enough for them to start something through their sister. So we must, it is a bitter truth, but cultural institutions, this is our humble plea. We must revisit. We must see the danger these have done and talk sense and face facts and say what are the resolutions we've made that when it comes to marriage. Because if, for example, who is going to give away their young girl, away from security matters that you talked about, that maybe there is war and all that, when they know maybe they're going to get something in appreciation, you know, because you can't really pay me for my daughter. No amount of money. For example, you come to my sister here, you brag around. How much can they give your father? How much can they give your parents? You get it?
No amount of money.
Yes.
And you have a point.
If we know it's just going to be a token,
of
something
appreciation.
small, and people don't expect this issue of come we bargain. How foolish are we?
And you know,
we bargain for you.
We cannot say that there is emancipation for the girl child if we are still also contributing to the factors that
and
lead
I see very
young women
educated girls. They're going to, right now, my brothers, the first things they're going to go and discuss how many cows they are going to give.
You know,
How? May you invite me in that?
Chiramo has a point, because
so,
most early marriages are rooted in cultural practices.
Yes.
And some cultural practices, in as much as I love culture and I am an advocate for maintaining our cultures, some of them are not serving the girl child. They are not. But I would like, Chantal, before you come in, I see you burning. I would like to read a message from one of our participants on social media. And of course, they said SMC that we were wondering about earlier is safe male circumcision. But also there is another message where someone is saying LC1s are hiding cases and facilitating negotiations in disguise in the villages. The cases are known but are not reported, and it is now a business. Let there be a law to punish the LCs who stay silent on defilement cases and childhood marriages. And they signed off as a concerned parent, but also added, however, government should also move towards making education affordable at higher levels for the poor.
And that is very, very true. Keep these girls in school.
Longer.
Even a man will fear a girl putting on uniform. Keep these girls in school. Retention in school.
Seems to disagree.
I seem to disagree.
Retention of these girls in school will keep them. But when a girl drops out of school, mostly in villages,
yes,
the parents are wondering what next.
Of course, the next thing is
school is
married.
done. We can no longer take you further.
And school is done is usual at most senior 4.
Yes. So you're going to be here.
And at senior
then
4,
become
literally,
pregnant.
children as young as 16.
Then you become a
So they're still
problem
minors.
to the family. So before we get ashamed, if we can have 10 high fives from you,
That's exactly one of the things I told you
let's
about.
survive the shame on the village. Let's get these 10 high fives. And what are they planning to do? Educate your brother.
Because your brother is going to be the one that serves the family, apparently.
Saves the family, apparently.
Now,
and of course, he's a man, you'll have responsibility. People to look after.
Speaking of educating the brother, someone says something in line with with that. He says there is the poverty we're talking about is, he says it is not this poverty which is lack of money, it is poverty of mind. Let's change our mindset. Isaac. And this will be the last one. Someone says they're enjoying the conversation. Now, going back to someone who said that LCs actually even foster negotiations between parents and the would-be grooms. There is a report by UNICEF which says that most young child marriages, the reason why they keep going on is that people have lost faith in the legal system. They say that when they go to police, sometimes they are not given the help that they need, so they stop running to the police. And when someone says that LCs are facilitating the marriages to continue, there is a bond to that meat to that bone.
You see, just like right now, if you got an issue, would you be so fast to run to the police? I would have my questions on that, depending on the issue you have got. So if the system put in place, ideally, is not giving you solutions, you have no choice but to just let it slide. So at the end of the day, we have to go back to the foundation. And the foundation is in mindset change.
Yes.
Even if you kept this girl in school, if that parent is struggling to keep that child in school, they're really trying their best to keep the child in school. And this man says, give me the girl, I marry her off, I'm going to take her to school. Yes, even if she goes to school and completes school, she got married at a young age. We're talking about child marriages.
So I think we are talking about two things here. There is the poverty, because parents can't afford to take children to school.
Yes.
And of course the mindset change.
The mindset is the first thing that it should be the primary thing we put our focus on. If we do not change the minds of the Ugandans and these people and how they think, then we still have a problem. If yes, we love culture, I love culture, but certain things we need to weigh the available options. If getting married at a young age is going to cause more death, that means even the family is going to be hurt. I don't see why some of these people do not view it like this. So let's go back to the grassroots, which is mindset change.
So we need to disseminate information about the dangers of childhood marriages, early child marriages especially, because as statistics indicate, 34% of Ugandan girls are married off before the age of 18. And of course, it is said that Uganda has over 5 million child brides, and of these 1.5 were married off before the age of 15, which is really, it is really sad. Shame upon the parents who do this.
But even if you talk about men,
who marry these girls.
How on earth, where am I saying shame upon men? 1.5 before the age of
15.
15. What kind of person are you?
But then again, there is also a 15.6% of the boys who are married off before their 18th birthday.
You see that I don't support that, but why I'm so much against child marriage on the girl's side? The boy will have responsibilities, yeah, and with responsibility that you can maneuver. I can help my young brother who was married off or something like that. But the girl is going to carry another child, another life, and the body biologically is not yet ready. That's why I said shame upon men. How do you sleep with a girl below 15 years and you're a mature man?
But you mentioned...
What relationship do you...
You mentioned the reason.
But you see, those are people that have an element of mental. You see, many people today need psychiatrists to examine them.
Apparently 14 million Ugandans have...
But the challenge is we hide sometimes under culture, because a man who can sleep with a girl of 13 years.
Might imagine that.
13 years.
Imagine that.
What conversation? What happens there?
They never have conversation.
What is it like? You're mentally sick.
This conversation is heated, but it is a conversation, like I said in the beginning, that concerns all of us, whether you're a parent, a guardian, a brother, a sister. If you have a girl in your care or a girl that you know of, I don't really think you would want to see them married off at the age of 13. Even if it were a boy, we need to disabuse ourselves of this. I'll read one last message from our contributors on social media. This one says, we need to educate girls until they exhausted all the content. Besides, it depends which schools do those young girls go to. I refer parents to take their young girls to church-founded schools. Akampomoza George from Kagadi district. Thank you so much, George, for your contribution, and for everyone that has contributed to this conversation. The conversation remains. We can continue this online. Thank you so much for being a part of this. Now we will have a look at some of the dailies from the East African region.
With me is a copy of the Daily Nation, and dam scandal. Seniors farm was paid 2 billion Kenyan shillings for this thicket. Also, forced NYS-style drill for students. Discipline in the 80s, students underwent pre-university National Youth Service training. And still, Ruto Raila rule out power sharing ahead of crucial talks. Speaking matters transport, radical plan for state to control matatu fares, and so much more happening in today's copy of the Daily Nation. So in case you're interested in knowing what is happening with your neighbor right here in Kenya, you might want to grab a copy of the Daily Nation.
Allow me go to the country headed by a lady in the East African community, and that is Tanzania, where we have AU Malls Credit renting agencies. We have the task ahead of new TPSF chief, and Mama Samia's Love Initiative brings in 60 US specialist doctors, and Mapango's 5 directives to local council on youth. Well, these and more are in the Citizens and the Daily Nation and all other papers that we've discussed this morning. Just get yourself a copy.
Well, it is still Good Morning Uganda. My name is Olive Monica Nejima. We will be right back.
This is the University of Africa. On the streets, you get your real education. Here, everybody has a degree of something, but the most important qualification is imagination. His reason is to be the GOAT. The reason to imagine is to take the beat and make it lit. So no matter what your situation, just use your imagination.
Ireland have qualified for the Women's World Cup for the very first time.
It's unbelievable.
What a summer to look forward to.
Big girl energy straight out the gate. When I'm up with my boots, yeah, I cannot play. See the sun coming up. Blue day, awesome along, gonna kill it. Replay. Sydney, Auckland, making waves with my girls down under. Spit it out, hit the top with my colors. We gon' be the best in it, I'm certain. Strike to defeat, fast as lightning, sound like thunder. Sound the war,
summer.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
MTN Momo Pay is the easy way to pay. Dial star 165 star 3 hash or use the MTN Momo app. You don't need cash. MTN Momo Pay is safe and free.
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001, DSTV channel 282, GoTV channel 371, Star Times channel 201, Zuku TV channel 20, and Azam TV channel 350. Even when your subscription expires, you can still watch UBC for free on your pay TV platforms.
Juko. Yo. Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
A very beautiful morning once again. You are watching Good Morning Uganda, and this is the time when we dig into the traffic updates for the morning. Now, before we get into the traffic updates, I would like to give you some driving tips, especially if you are driving yourself. Now, of course, even when you're not driving, it helps you to know what the traffic, what certain things mean on different cars. Is, let's say, if you're crossing the road, or if you're riding a bicycle, you would know if someone uses indicators, what do they mean? So this morning, I would like us to talk about indicators on your car. Now, we know that you can use indicators to alert the other person to actually bypass you, but also as you are driving, you need to always remember to indicate. I've realized that on most of our roads, there are people who will get off the road without indicating first. So you are driving behind them, and before you know it, they're taking a turn. There was no indication that they're taking a turn, and that can sometimes be catastrophic. So we need to use the indicators. They're there for a reason. You're changing lanes, use indicators. You're getting off the road, use indicators. You want to join the road, use indicators at all times, because it will help other road users, other drivers, to know what exactly you are doing. And that is our traffic tip for this morning. Now, speaking of traffic updates, we will take it from Ginger Road around Banda. We will be looking at that route to see how you can best get into the heart of the city. Now, around Banda stage, there is a traffic holdup. There is a huge traffic between Petrobanda and Banda stage, but also there is traffic coming from the other side of the road, but it is mainly where you join the road from, the side that comes from Chambogo to join the major Jinja highway at Banda. So there is some bit of a hold up, but then after there is smooth flow of traffic along the Jinja Road highway up until you reach Chambogo, you reach the other Chambogo road that comes from Nabisunsa. There is some traffic jam, but then when it feeds into the main road, it frees up. Now moving ahead on the same route, Kampala Jinja highway after Banda, unfortunately traffic starts to hold up. I see orange zones there which indicate that yes, traffic is moving, but it is not as fast as you would wish it to be, and around National Drug Authority offices the traffic actually becomes intense. So there you're going to be held up until when you reach the crossover from Tinda Stretcher Road, and of course the road that comes from Nakawa from Mbuya joining the major Jinja Road highway. There you're going to find some traffic because I see a long red zone from Stretcher Road that comes from Tinda joining the main Jinja Road highway. So if you're using that route, or if you plan to use that route, you may have to think about an alternative route, because you will be held up there for quite some time because of the cars that are coming from the main Jinja Road highway, and of course the cars that are coming from Buya side joining the major Jinja Road highway. But then when you reach Nakawa market stage, the road looks a bit clear, and you can be able to move, though there is some traffic that is building up along Katalima Road, and of course joining still the major Jinja Road highway. Now moving ahead, yes, there are other traffic zones along the Jinja Road highway. And most of this traffic is coming in from New Port Bell Road. I see red zones going off to Port Bell Road, and of course coming to the heart of the city. So yes, that route doesn't look good at all. If you are still home and watching this, you may have to think about an alternative route. Now when you reach the Nakawa traffic lights, there is still high traffic there, and of course as you move along and you're approaching the Lugogo bypass, there is still some bit of traffic that is joining the main Jinja Road highway. But as you move along, it actually frees up, and you're able to move smoothly into the heart of the city. So depending on where you're going this morning, you may have to be careful about the decision you make regarding which road you want to use. If we look into the neighborhood of Kololo, I see some traffic around Roscoe Road, and of course some traffic around Impala Avenue. So you may have to think carefully before you use those routes. But around Wampeo Avenue, the traffic is flowing well. The holdup is at the traffic lights, but that shouldn't keep you for so long, so you could actually consider using that if you're in the area of Kololo. And of course there is some bit of traffic on York Terrace, but it's still not something you should worry about. You won't spend there more than 10 minutes. And around Kololo Independence Grounds, there is some traffic jam going off to Prince Charles Drive, but it's still not much. Other roads within the area look pretty clean, so you should be able to move without so much trouble in those areas. Well, that's it for our traffic updates this morning. My name is Olive Monica Najuma. We will be doing this every morning, and of course you're still watching Good Morning Uganda. We do this every morning from 6:30 in the morning to 9 a.m. Monday to Friday.
Ireland have qualified for the Women's World Cup for the very first time.
It's unbelievable.
What a summer to look forward to.
Big girl energy straight out the gate when I'm up with my boots. Turn the world round, shut the show down. Not listening, couldn't slow down. On the whole night. Turn the world round, shut the show down.
What an amazing effort. Little John.
Turn the world round, shut the show down.
Pistol from Little John. Ireland on its way on the world stage. What a summer.
Step into the future of African coffee at the second G25 Africa Coffee Summit hosted by Uganda. The summit will be held at Speak Resort Munyonyo from the 8th to the 10th of August 2023. Heads of state from Africa's 25 coffee growing nations and coffee value chain actors will delve into the theme Transforming the African Coffee Sector through Value Addition. The summit is a defining moment for Africa's coffee growing nations. It's time to listen, innovate, and invest in Africa's coffee future, ignite the potential of African coffee. Organized by the Government of Uganda through the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries and Uganda Coffee Development Authority in collaboration with the Inter-African Coffee Organization.
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001, DSTV channel 282, GoTV channel 371, Star Times channel 201, Zuku TV channel 20, and Azam TV channel 350. Even when your subscription expires, you can still watch UBC for free on your pay TV platforms.
Greatness is all around us. On pitches, fields, and playgrounds. At home and far away. It lives in the past, and it's in the faces we look up to, and in those we see every day. Greatness is all around us. It takes us beyond limitations, beyond possibility, beyond doubt, beyond expectations. The only question is, where will it take us next?
Juko.
Yo.
Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Good morning and thank you so much for being with us on UBC TV. We appreciate you being with us from 6:30 till now, and indeed we know you're going to continue with us. But just remind you, we stream live, and in case there is a segment of this show that you have not been able to watch or you really want to rewatch, review, well, you can just rewind and forward and also catch this show at your time of convenience. So it's not all done when you miss this show. But however, make it a date with us every weekday from 6:30. We are here, and I guarantee you we will wake you up with smiles and of course very informative discussions indeed you'll get from Good Morning Uganda with the big team. I'm Robert Chirabonyonyitono. In case you've just joined, this is Good Morning Uganda Agenda. And today we are going to be discussing a very sensitive topic. Why? Because it employs quite a number of Ugandans, but also very sensitive because it is a mean of transport for very many Ugandans. Still sensitive because at some time it has been one of the causes of insecurity in our country. What is that? Well, it is the border industry, and where government has moved to have a border free zone in some parts of Kampala. Now, Lawrence Niwabine, who is the Director of Traffic Uganda Police, once said, and I remember by then he was the traffic commandant for Kampala Metropolitan, that border is the most unsafest means of transport, unavoided evil. You can't avoid it, you know it's unsafe, but it's something we have to live with it. Now, joining me on this issue of the border free zone is the chairperson of the border community in Kampala Central, where this actually has affected them. Kanyike Chiviri, you're most welcome. Thank you. How have you been, Kanyike?
Well, doing well. Those are my names, Kanyike Chiviri. I'm the chairperson of Bengal Stage, which is located at Mukwanake, Channel Street. Then the chairperson of Kampala Metropolitan Border Entrepreneurs is a cooperative. Chairperson of Border Industry Uganda, which umbrella border unions associations, very many of them. Then the leader of Border Kampala Central Division. Why I mention these things? Because we joined the associations, then war did not end of frictions. Up to, because there are some borders which don't have associations, the independent one. That's why we joined the leadership of the associations and the individuals to become one, as to have a single voice of the border in Kampala. Our chairperson is Maweji Flank, which you know is the district chairperson. Me, I'm leading Kampala Central Division. We have 5 divisions. In Nakawa, we have Kawawa, you know, yes, Kawawa Rashid. Then we have Isabile Umaru, which is leading Machindye. And we have Kamia Ibla, which is leading Giluvaga Division. Those are the 1st division making Kampala district.
Now, that said, on the 27th of July, this very year, the Minister for Security wrote to KCCA telling them or informing them that the border industry has been infiltrated by criminals and we should not have stages on Colville Street. That is the street around Parliament.
Colville is the street from Statistics House up to Kampala Road, that which is joining the past the King. Road,
We're not having any there. Nile Avenue, which is our street here.
Yeah, it's the street.
UBC. Sir Apollo Kagwa Road,
where there is a Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
And Chagwe Road.
This Chagwe Road. Parliamentary Avenue.
Yeah, Parliamentary Avenue.
No
that is Parliamentary Avenue. Sorry, not Chagwe Road. So these 4 areas: Colville Street, Nile Avenue, Parliamentary Avenue, and all these were seen as places where we should not have border stages and border operations. Now we know there have been a number of initiatives aimed at streamlining your industry, organizing your sector, and at one time KCCA had a broader area that in the CDB we shouldn't have borders. Actually, by then they had talked about Chitante ending there, Wampewa Avenue, and it was quite big, where we shouldn't have borders. You as people in this sector, how did you perceive this news?
The news were not good by the other time because it was a vast area by then, the border free zone. It was running from Lugogo bypass, then it goes to industrial area, it goes to Chisenyi, Kafumbe Mukasa, it goes to Odi Kampala, then one day go back to Chira Road. Then by that time we didn't have single leadership. When we join our leadership of different groups, we come one when then we talk to KCCA and the management or the government people. They reduced that big place. So on the letter you are talking about, the letter it came on 22nd. The Minister of Security wrote to Minister of Kampala, then the Minister of Kampala wrote to KCCA, then KCCA wrote to the leadership of Boda Boda. After I received that message, then I went there as the leader because those are my members. I went there, then I talked to them. They don't want these stages on these streets because the letter was saying relocate them. Relocating them is not chasing them away. It just changing the stage from a certain area to another area. Like Parliamentary Avenue, we have 3 stages. We have Farmers House stage, IPS stage where there is the Minister of IT, and that one of Minister of Land. Then when I talked to those people, and I suggested where to take them. That one of Minister of Farmers House Trade. Then I placed it to Nando's, Kampala Road. I replaced Kampala Road. Then this one of IPS to Impala House, Colville Street. Then the other stage of Apollo Kagwa, there is one stage. Then we put it to Nina's restaurant on Class the King. And then these stages of Nile Avenue, I know management of UBC gave a consent to the chairman Fufu, who is the leader. So they are all your people helping you traveling. And these one of Kampala Kingdom, even they got a consent from the management of Kingdom. Those one they will remain. The problem why the security came with this news, there is many thugs in Boda Boda, I believe. Those one without stages, we are calling them Rubianzas. They are the one making close to the Boda sector. So when we change this one to relocate them, then we don't want to see any other Boda moving around, so that we secure the area. I agree with them. There are many loitering around.
So you also agree that this sector has been infiltrated by criminals?
They are there. They are there. That's why you are seeing they are changing number plates. There are many fake number plates in the industry. There are those one who are covering number plate. There are those one who are lifting the number plate where passengers cannot see it. They remove side mirror to maneuver jam. So we need to do a lot to this industry. So we are calling out sensitization, as I told you last year. The first phase of this system, we need to sensitize our members, the goodness, and to change the image of Boda Boda. So we need to sensitize them. Sensitizing them, then we are doing training them on road safety and so on.
Now, back to this very issue. When you talk about relocating stages, the good thing is you do not oppose this move, because sometimes your group chooses to create havoc and be stubborn.
And these days we are talking.
Okay, so these days there is dialogue.
There is dialogue.
Now, and most of the time say we've not been consulted, involved, you're not going to go by this, but good this time, this is not what happened. Now,
because the data came 1 month ago.
Okay. So now, when we look at relocation, I know that these Boda stages have leadership.
Yeah, they have.
These Boda stages, people pay to work on them. I know this is something we don't want to disclose because you chairman benefit from it.
The payment people are talking of is the payment of the welfare. When you find a stage, it has a welfare base of 1 million. You have to pay that 1 million to enter in the welfare system, so that you can be helped also. That's the welfare, not paying a stage, not buying a stage.
Chiviri.
Yes.
Let's go slow, understand this, because I did my credible investigations before the show, that when you go to a stage, you have your motorcycle, you bought it, or it's on loan or whatever. When you go to a stage, for example, stages in Kampala range from 700 to 1.5. So you go to this stage, you tell them, I want to park here. You go to UBC gate, we have a stage there. They'll tell you here it's 1.3 for you to park your motorcycle here. That money you want to term welfare.
It's welfare.
There is a leadership.
There's a leadership
that gets this money. These people don't pay where they work from. They don't pay. You wake up one morning, one person parks a motorcycle, then another, and now when I have to say chairman,
it's become a stage.
It becomes a stage, and then they are getting money. If you have 11 border people, each paid 1 million, that is 11 million. And what does this money do? Yes, you can talk about welfare. It goes to the pockets of who came first and became a chairman, and like a small section. That's why when sometimes of eventualities, you see them move around with tufiridwa munafe tumutwara muzika. If you have 11 million part of welfare, why are you collecting money for this? But that said, I want to go back to the relocation. How do you conduct relocation, or how possible is this if this is not just for media and making it easy? How do you remove people from one stage where they paid and you're taking them to another area where they have never paid welfare in courts to work there? And already we know that some stages are densely populated. And you need few people on these stages. When there are many, the chances of getting passengers also are limited.
Relocating is not easy, but when we started sensitizing them, we knew that in CDB they don't want many stages. That's why we started sensitizing them. We don't want to lose number of borders, but we can lose stages. That's the hidden things we have.
How practical is that?
When you talk to them, if at all you come with force, you can't do it. It's not practical. Now, if you talk to this chairman of this stage and the other one, we are going to join you to become one stage because they don't want these mushroom stages. They hear from you.
For example, when I look around outside the gate, we have a UBC stage. If it's accommodating right now about 30 of them, and even space is not enough for them, and you see the competition for who is taking who. If you merge, if you bring other 5 stages, and you want to have a merger, you may go to about 50 or even 100. What is the possibility of this merger? And how do you then convince yourself that you're not going to have some lose jobs or move away from the city center?
When we are discussing about the maximum and the minimum of number, we talked up. We see the space, wideness of the space. If the space is not enough, we cannot merge that stage to that area. We relocate to a bigger space. Like in UBC, you cannot merge like 50. We will take you to another stage. It's not easy, but you can at least earn living when you join these stages.
You're the people who opposed Kampala Capital City Authority when they came up with 445 stages.
And they were giving us 58 stages, 59 stages in the whole Kampala Central Division.
In the whole Kampala Central Division?
Yet we have like 700 stages. That's why we did the
So the 455 were looking at all the 5 divisions.
All the 5 divisions.
So Kampala as a division you were getting under that arrangement, how many?
Kampala, the Central Division, is 59 only, out of 700. That's why I was opposing it. But when we sit together, when we sat together with the KCCA management, then they proposed that at least you get a consent from the neighbor, from the bosses, the landlord. And I believe that UBC gave us a consent for that stage. I believe that's why the stage will remain there and Kampala Kingdom. By those stages, we did not get consent from the landlord. They can't allow, cases can't allow, because the moment you put a stage, the landlord will go to court and issue cases here. So we submitted like 250 consents for Central Division, plus the other 59 stages which was proposed by KCC. At least that's it's enough, like 300 stages out of 700. It can work.
Don't you feel the need, given the dilemma, the confusion, the congestion caused by borders, that we shouldn't have them in the CDB?
it's a problem because we don't have jobs in Uganda. So where are they going to earn living?
Development is extending with time. What was previously a village is now an urban center. More urban centers. Why should we have a border rider come from Nansana every morning to come and park on UBC stage? You're staying in Nansana. How many urban developing, mushrooming cities, centers are you living to come to Kampala?
Most of the riders, they are sleeping in Wachiso. So you mean if I tell you work at UBC, you have to sleep in UBC? No.
So job is UBC, but a border rider.
That's my area of work. That's the area of my business.
Why should you come to decongest the city?
No. The problem is these people without stages. If at all we remove these Rubianzas, the city will be decongested. These Rubianzas, even here at your UBC gate, there is this UBC stage which is known, and the other one in the corner, which are non-member. So we need to remove those ones who don't have stages there. They came in COVID. Those people monitoring around coming from Mukono, they put on 7 shirts. They keep on removing one by one. Today is removing the one which was outside. Until 7 days, they go back to the home week at the weekend. So we need to remove those Rubianzas, then to remain with these few which are within the city. Then we don't see this congestion.
Now we want to look at it in 2 phases. We have the bit of insecurity, where the Minister for Security, Honorable Jim Muhwezi, wrote about that and said they have been infiltrated by criminals, but also have the issue of traffic congestion. Now let's begin with the issue of security. Who will regulate the border industry when you've proven a menace and a problem to authorities?
We need to work together, because as leaders we came up with a vision of uniforming the whole border to do different division according to different division. So if at all we work together with these ministries, we want to see insecurity in the system, because this stage the UBC we are talking about, these people, they are helping us to give us information which can at least cause chaos within Kampala, because we have a chairperson and a security personnel at each stage. We are also helping the government for security purpose, because we are the first hand information giver as a border riders in the system. So if at all you remove them, at least you lack that information.
So you want to say you give intelligence information to government, and minus you, that could be a problem?
Yeah, it's a problem.
Thank you for bringing your trumpet. But then also let's look at this. You're talking about the issue of Rubianzas. Now our viewers, Rubianza is a border rider who has no stage. Permanent stage. What these usually do is they keep loitering. They'll drive, so you stop him, he's driving. Where are you going? He's riding, sorry. Then he would, I'm going to Kololo. So he drops you in Kololo, gets another passenger, I'm going to Machindye. They don't have a place where you can track them and tell them, this is my stage where I work. That is the Rubianza. Now, as the border industry, you've failed to deal with Rubianzas. I've seen some effort sometimes where people have, I think, a chain.
They have a chain,
and then they lock and all that. But you said now you're unified. You have an umbrella body.
We have an umbrella body.
But these are things you're failing to do, to handle. You as the people in this industry.
We have not failed, but we need the support of the government. Because if at all we chain your bike, then we need assistance from either case enforcement or police. To take you, because you are not allowed to just loiter around. There are many stages paying which is stolen by these Rubianzas, like in Nabogabo. There is a person who was given a shack of shoes. Then he took off and take the that Mogugo of the customer. Then he came back to the stage and said, I picked this border man to this stage, you need to pay. Then they paid. That's why we are changing them. Then we need the support for the government security personnel to at least to take away this one. If at all we chain you, then they call to their big bosses. This border belongs to a certain big man. You leave him. That's the main problem. But we cannot fail to handle this.
Gambanog has become a challenge.
Hey, Gambanog. So we need at least to cooperate with the security personnel to remove these people without stages. So anyone, any border rider has per system, it needs to first get a stage. First, you need to get a stage because it is it's the mandatory to get a stage. You are not just come and join any other stage or moving around.
But so why do you think we have Lubianzas? Isn't it the exorbitant charges?
No.
That because a person looks for money, because I've tried to understand your industry, and one thing I've discovered is many of you do not pay in cash for these motorcycles. You're either working for someone
or
getting it on hire purchase. Someone gets 700 Uganda shillings, goes to a Chirabo, who gets these motorcycles. Many gives them the 700. They look at their national ID, you bring a few colleagues, then you're given this motorbike and you're told within 3 or 2 years, you'll have given me this money. Every week, I need this amount of money. Now, if someone has struggled to get 700, he wants to work at UBC stage, and you're asking for 1.3 just to give that person space to work there, termed as welfare. Yet, this is a place you got voluntarily. You people, you don't pay tax to KCCA. You're the only people I think who work in Kampala. You don't pay tax to KCCA. You don't pay as you earn. You don't, there's literally nothing apart from tax on fuel.
We are paying tax on fuel.
Even the places where you work, you're not paying for them, but you're charging someone 1.3. Why wouldn't someone remain at Lubianza and we still have the same problems that we're talking about?
We are calling our colleagues, those Lubianzas, to join stages. We are giving them even on installment. You give you an agreement, you are going to pay the stage in installment, like you are saying UBC. If at all we allow these people to join any other stage, you will see that there will be many around UBC. That's also decongesting tactics. When you talk of money, they fear to join that stage. We are decongesting it also. If at all we allow those people to join any other stage, we will be seeing very many join the border in sector within Kampala, even mainly Kampala.
Why don't you have a uniform fee? Let's say, in the interest of our job, 500,000 uniform fee, any stage.
And I told you, Auntie, this money is a welfare base. You cannot join in my stage when I have a welfare base of 1 million and you're paying 500. How can I go to help you?
How did you arrive to that?
They used to pay.
What was your investment in this stage?
The stage we got them at free.
Yes.
Then we started collecting welfare each stage. By the time when you come to our stage, you'll find my stage, it has a welfare base of each member of 1 million. Then for you want to join it, free entry.
What do you do on this stage? I mean, there is literally nothing.
We are doing. People are getting sick, they are getting problems. We use that money. After we are emphasizing the welfare, because in our leadership we have just started, because it's almost 6 months. We have came up with an order. Each border rider has to contribute 1,000 on his stage daily. On that daily basis, we are increasing the welfare base because we are getting many problems.
I'm reliably informed, Kanyike, and because you're looking for solutions. 1, for decongesting, 2, for security purposes. And one of the issues we are looking at here, that according to you, that the issue of border riders who have no stages, the Lubianza, is a very big problem.
It's a big problem, sincere.
Now, I'm reliably informed that this money that may be a deterrent to some of these people, of course not ruling out that some may be criminals and it's safe for them to operate that way, that this money is collected, go up the structures, up to your office. That for every stage in Kampala Central under your jurisdiction, well known and recorded, either daily or monthly, must bring something to your office. For term that's for sustainability.
Sustainability,
If you have 200 stages, on average, every rider contributed 1 million as welfare. Every day, everyone is paying 1,000. Don't you think people are cutting the branch on which you're seated in the long run?
No. Because we are learning these offices. Which offices we are paying the rent? We are paying because we are not using our home as office. So we need to pay rent and electricity and so on. So on that note, people are coming to our offices requesting for help, which help we don't have from the government. So we need at least to get that welfare. Each person is giving us 1,000 per week. Each person within Kampala.
Times 500 people.
500. But they are getting problems. We are not in this industry. They have a lot of problems. They are chasing them from houses. Their children, they are chasing from school. We give them loan. Cash loans. We give them motorcycle. The initial deposits we are talking of, they are getting them from the offices. For the initial deposit of 500, 700 to get a motorcycle, they are getting them from the office. We are using that man of the welfare.
I'll not go so much into that. Let me leave it at that. For all have sinned and fallen short of God's glory. Sometimes when I see people castigating government officials, that resonates that when issues of money become a problem. But I hope that we find a solution that the Lubianzas can get stages, and we have that. Now, it's time that you can send in your message through the number that is on your screen, and I'll be reading out the messages to my guest in studio here, who happens to be the chairperson of Border Borders in Kampala Central Division, one of the divisions that make up the 5 divisions of Kampala. But also, he is the man whose area of jurisdiction is directly affected by the roads we've talked about, Sir Apollo Kagwa, Nile Avenue, Colville Street, and Parliamentary Avenue, where these must be border-free zones. We do not, according to the Minister of Security, because of the infiltration of criminals in this industry, these must be free from borders. Why? There are key government installations. Talk about Uganda Broadcasting Corporation, the national TV and radio stations are housed there. Talk about Parliamentary Avenue. We saw what happened recently, the twin bombings in Kampala, and this street was highly targeted. Talk about, when you look at these 4 streets, they have key government installations that require high levels of security and surveillance. So my brother, my guest here, says they agree with that, and they're looking at relocating. Well, I'll be reading some of the messages that are coming in. I'll begin. Hey, Chirabo, thanks for the presentation. It's me, Joseph, Washington. Just asking, do stages still have meaning? Cause the so-called Rubianza have taken over. Here, when I need a border, I don't go to a stage. I just board any that comes my way. Why are stages that expensive? That is for you. Then one comes in, okay. Very interesting here. But why is the problem of phasing out the entire industry of this dangerous transport? Even in Dar es Salaam city, there is no single border. Kampala city is the calmest city and a city of killings, and there is dirty politics when the government officials who are doing their business in this industry try to come up. Now, one of my viewers is saying, you people, why can't you leave Kampala CDB? Operate on the outcasts and we find other ways of transport within Kampala. The other, good morning UBC, I'm Bernard Kamo from Kamocha. The issue of border charges for stages parking is extremely harassment. The riders need a lot. First, they ask for permits costing 500K and above, a loan to be paid, and you charge them 1.3, that is too much. Just first go with those.
The last question is, the permit is required. You are not allowed to ride by any vehicle on the road without a permit. It's not our requirement. Our requirement, we need a national ID, LC letter, and a guarantor only.
Okay.
Hey. So phasing out border is not easy in Kampala here because we don't have jobs. I've already talked. I'm told that in Philippines there are many border stage in border areas within the capital city. We are very few here. compared to the news I hear from
They have
Philippines.
better road infrastructure. They are well streamlined.
I believe that our president, His Excellency, will do.
Now you're going political, Chividi, and this is one of the reasons why government has had it very hard. I want to take you back when you had a patron called Abdallah Chitata as the border industry, the border 2010. You are a menace. Jennifer Musisi tried, but you see, why do you allow politicians to manipulate you?
When I talk of His Excellency, is starting constructing roads within the city. If at all means the management, they are going to give us good stages and shelters. Border lane, I believe we will manage it.
You always run to a safe place when laws come to regulate this industry.
Not safe, no.
And even people from cases have told you that the excess politicking in border matters. If you don't run to the powers that be in the NRM, you run to the Lord Mayor, you're making, and yet we still have you as the biggest causes of accidents in the city. I was looking at statistics of just the week ending, if my memory or my records serve me best. And I want to show you how many people we lost. We lost 31 riders just the last week, and we lost 5 passengers.
Do you know the problem?
What could be the problem?
Most of the riders, they don't have driving permit or riding permits. They did not go to training schools. According to our program, we have a program of training them free of charge, because they have got partnership with some companies. We are going to train almost 10,000 riders free of charge and get the certificate of competence. So that's the main problem causing the accident. We didn't call out those training before. Now we are trying to training them to know the skills on the road. So we believe in the period of a year, the accident will reduce.
That is what we hope for. Now, let me look at another message. Hello, Chirabo. Thanks for the show. This is Angela from Namayingo. They should reduce on the cost of getting a stage. Otherwise, Rubianzas are going to be many as possible. 1.3 is too much for someone beginning building himself. So many, may you reduce. That is Fazali. Okay, Fazali, thanks for watching. Then, hello, thanks for the presentation. I'm called Kenny from Uganda. What's the purpose of that welfare fee? What does it really do? And what does the welfare then? Good morning, thanks for the show. Let that man justify the initial payment of 1 million to occupy ground that they have no bona fide or provisional ownership. Andrew in Nintinda. And finally, hello, I'm Mokisa, Innocent from Machiso. It is necessary for border riders to pay that money. Is it necessary for border riders to pay that money? You officials have mercy for the poor ones. Lovely day.
They are all rotating on stage fees. Because
this, we look at it as one of the hindrances for effective regulation in terms of, one, security purposes, because we know, like you said, if someone is registered at UBC, that person has an LC letter, you have a copy of their national ID, then you have someone, a second or something like that, guarantor, that's the term you used. He's known. And in case of committing an offense, we can track that person. Arubianza is known to nobody. So, if we are to reduce, because for your issue is we need to fight Rubianzas. If we do that, one, we shall have a number we know that UBC has 30 riders, and they're all known. Any offense done around that or committed, we can locate who did it. And the minister's issue of insecurity, thugs will be solved. But also, if you have to look at the number of borders for decongestion purposes, you said you will merge stages, and you know that this is the number. Maybe those that don't get enough then move out, and we have a few in the city. So that's why they're centering on this welfare money.
So people are just talking about this one AM1. They are stage of 300 within Chisenyi, within the suburb of Kampala, they are there. But most of the people, they want busy areas. There's busy areas that are the expensive one.
Oh, so it depends on also how...
the busy, like Acacia. You cannot get a stage at Acacia. If at all we allow those people are moving around Acacia, they are over 500 riders. You mean they should park at one stage of Acacia? That's why they are increasing that welfare to remove them. Or to
Acacia is very expensive.
It's very expensive.
About 1.6.
Hey, if at all you allow them like 500 who are rotating there, is stage or a park? So we need at least to collaborate with these government officials as we are doing it, and get this welfare people. Welfare fee is the one who helping us to help these border riders from the stage. The problem, if it comes to the stage and it can be solved by stage, it will be okay. If at all it comes, it fails to earn as a stage, then they come to the office. We help also. Like we lost our executive members to Mugume Kenneth Kazin. He was going to Mirama Hills to taking that body to Mirama Hills. How much it costs to take a body? Then we asked the government. Then the Prime Minister gave us a vehicle to taking that body. Then what of the people, the family people? Because the double cabin was to take just the widows. You know, border people, they always have one of three wives. So we need to get another vehicle.
That's earning. You people have enough money.
So we need
you
to
should be paying pay as you earn and so much.
We shall pay.
If it is almost next to a policy for you to have one or two, then...
Not most of them, they are Muslim.
Well, a very interesting discussion with the chairperson of Border Kampala Central on government coming up with a border free zone on 4 streets, that is Nile Avenue, Colville Street, Parliamentary Avenue, and Sir Apolokagwa. These have some installations that government feels we should not have stages. Apolokagwa, we should not have stages there. And well, time is flying. But away from these few stages, maybe continuously we shall have more other scene-worthy, not to have border stages within the city. At one time, there was a proposal that banking institutions,
hospitals and schools.
And schools.
We don't agree with removing stages on hospitals and the schools.
But you're catering
for banks, we can relocate them. We have already talked to those people near the banks, and we have started relocating them.
I love the fact that you're doing it internally. It's not KCCA
it's not KCCA.
Doing it. We hope later we don't see issues of. But these may be partly solutions. What could be the solutions, in your view, the permanent solutions to the border challenges of insecurity and congestion in the city?
The main solution is uniforming them.
What do you mean by uniforming them?
Each border to be with a unique uniform, with the color code. We have a program of uniforming them with different color coding.
Uniforms.
Yeah, that's the main problem. Because these stages, if at all we know that we have like 500 stages within CDB, and we know the exact leaders and the members, then we start uniforming them. We give a code as KCC want. This stage has a code of 19. With the 300, with the 30 members, then we give them a uniform. Sky blue for Central Division, a grey for Kawempe, green for Machindye, then navy blue for Rubaga, and the brown one for Nakawa. Then people will know that this border rider belong to a certain division. At least it will solve a problem of insecurity.
Then there's a QR code that I can also cram, 019.
Yeah.
Then the color gray shows me this division, so I can easily follow.
It will solve a problem in security within the border sector.
Then the number.
The number. Then the number is not so big. If at all we remove these Rubianzas, those are the main problem.
Chiviri, do you want to say that majority of the border riders we see in our city are Rubianzas
most
and they belong to no stages?
Most of them. Because in Kampala we have like 70,000 riders within Kampala. But if at all you call of them, they are like 150. So it's like a 50-50. So if we remove these areas, they got back to Mukono, to Kachiri, Mpiji, where they came from, you see the number will be minimal. Will be enough.
Let me just take 2 messages and we call it a day. Well, good morning. Thanks for the show. Let that man justify the initial payment. Well, this is also about money. Let that man not be diversionary. They have not a competent in security structure. National security relies on different clusters of society, depending on the circumstances. Border is actually the main infrastructure for crime. You're doing that when it comes to security. You people are just the main structure for crime and not so much. Hello, thanks for the presentation. I'm called Kenny from, Kenny, at least we had 1 message from you. Thank you so much. And finally, good morning, Chirabo and your guest. I'm Kaga Thomas of Manyangwa. Where do they give the accountability? And is he aware that after leaving a stage, you automatically become a Rubianza? It's all corruption.
The meaningful of stage is where you found, where we can get you. If I start from my Benga stage and I go moving, I'll be Banza as he says. But if I'm well known, I have an identification that he says that my stage is called the Benga stage or UBC stage. So I will not be Rubianza. But those people, they don't have a Nangamulim national ID for the riders. So we encourage them to get IDs for the job as you do have, because UBC you have an ID for the job. So most of the Rubianza, they don't have ID for the job. So if Ato is riding from Mukono, let him get an ID. Riding ID for the Mukono, so that we can know is coming from this stage of Mukono, because we have buried many in Limbo. Many because of of not having a riding ID where to trace this person. So that's why we encourage them to get a ID for the job and a national ID as we are required to be with it. So if at all we solve these things, border will change. The image of border will change. So we believe that if we have come out with, we have started working with the government officials, we are now sitting together with all the authorities, police, KCCA, Minister of Works. We are now on the same pace, training them. We have meetings, which was not the case for previously.
Okay. Well, before I let you go, is there anything else that you feel you want to communicate to the border people or government?
First, encourage our customers so that they can be vigilant. When you find a border without number plate, don't take it. Border without element, don't take it. Border without side mirror, you don't take it, because it's for security reasons. Okay. Then I encourage government at least to support us financially, because we are very poor as border riders.
Yeah, with this amount of welfare, you're really poor.
We are very, very poor. That's very small money, according to the problem we have. So we know that the government has land. He gives us land so that we can diversify from border to other activities. Okay. So, and I thank the good government for good collaboration with these authorities, Chisaka and the deputy. We are working together with the Uganda police, the IGPs with us. Now we at least we okay, and the Minister of Works, General Katumba, we are working together with them.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Kanyike Viri, who is the chairperson of the border community in Kampala Central Division. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
And of course, when you go back, talk about welfare more. You've seen most of the messages here. Look at that as a deterrent factor. Well, sports is next. See you later. Have a lovely time.
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 0.